Now in Libya, opposition fighters have managed to capture a munitions dump from Gaddafi forces in the west of the country. The weapons were near the town of Zintan, which is close to the Nafusa mountains, and it's seen as a major victory for the rebels as they edge closer to the capital. Let's get the latest from Al-Jazeera's Jonah Hull, who's close to there. Jonah, you witnessed the battle, a great victory they're saying, but symbolically or in terms of the weapons that have been captured?
Oh, well, I think that remains to be seen, but it's going to be an enormous morale booster for the fighters up here in the Nafusa mountain region who are trying to keep at bay Gaddafi forces on a number of fronts and to try and make significant advances as well, and doing all that with limited weaponry and the difficulty of getting resupplies. This is very important, what has happened this morning. It's a weapons dump about 30 kilometers to the south of the town of Zintan, which is in the Nafusa region. They'd had eyes on the place. They'd been watching it, we were told, for quite some time now. Just last week, this collection of weapons depots was hit by a powerful NATO bomb from the skies. It made such a big blast that people here thought there was an earthquake. Well, they launched an attack this morning at about 6 o'clock. It was over in a couple of hours or so, and that was a signal for just about every man with wheels in this region, it seemed, to head off down there across the desert sands and fill up cars, pickups and trucks with everything they could get their hands on. Tons and tons of munitions and equipment, including 2 Russian T-55 tanks, I must say, coming back across the road from the weapons depot back up into Zintan, and an armoured vehicle. We saw boxes and boxes of 14.5 millimeter rounds coming back, used to fire the big guns mounted on the back of pickups, very important for defence and advance on the lines here. We saw also boxes and boxes of Grad missiles, very important again for advance, both short range and long range. And all of this, of course, will really bolster, as I said, morale and also momentum that the rebel fighters, the opposition fighters up here, have been slowly building up just over the last few weeks or so.
Nobody's suggesting, Jonah, that it's going to be over rapidly, but do you get the feeling from those people who you've seen that they believe the end game's approaching?
Look, people are quite guarded in this region about making projections like that, David. The people you talk to, the commanders that you talk to in the sort of central coordination points that exist up here, have one firm objective in mind, and that is to protect their towns and villages in this region. They've pushed Gaddafi forces out in the last few weeks. Their firm objective is defense. The Gaddafi forces are arrayed in the plains around this region. They don't want them back here. But that said, they're making advances up the road towards Tripoli, as much defensive as a way of going all the way up that road. Now that they've achieved the first objective of defense, these weapons might help them to level the playing fields against a superior armed enemy up to now and allow them to do far more.
Jonah, good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed in Western Libya.
The rebels appear to be in better shape now than they have been in 3 months of fighting. They're more organised. They've had training from foreign military advisors. NATO's continuing their near-daily airstrikes on Muammar Gaddafi's forces and infrastructure. They've even sent over some attack helicopters so that they can get closer to the action. But now it's been revealed that the fighters may have been getting a little extra help from their international supporters. France says they've made several weapons drops into the Nafusa mountains this month. The rebels were facing heavy battles there until recently. This was their advance on Sunday from the mountains, which they now control, to a key position just 80 kilometers from the capital, Tripoli. Libya remains under an international arms embargo, but under UN Resolution 1973, countries and organisations are allowed to provide weapons to civilians with no way of defending themselves.
I think one of the key issues is whether or not the weapons that have been supplied by the French are offensive weapons, or which are really being provided purely for defensive purposes for the core protection of the civilians or for the rebels.
The French say their weapons went to civilians under threat, but some fear the worst.
We already have proof that these weapons are in the hands of Al-Qaeda, of traffickers. These weapons will contribute to the destabilization of African states.
The rebels have been calling for more direct help for months now. We're yet to find out if this arms drop has provided them with just that.